Hello, this is Odomne, and you're on the YouTube channel of the internet's most notorious ginger man, Thorin.
J. Cole said, could put a M right on your head, you Luigi brother now. Pretty fire line, Jermaine. But I'm not talking about dropping dime on a fool when I say I could lower your order by 10% for gamer subs. With the code Thorin, Thorin, the real code to unlock the streets. In case you don't have no roles or models, and I ain't talking mentors, beamers or women. So okay, the title of this video, you don't know what these acronyms mean. Basically I'm saying, make EU Masters lead into an NLB style tournament for LEC. So here's the current state of European League of Legends. LEC is the top division, it's the highest you can go up within the region, it has 10 teams, top 6 make the playoffs, and from summer the top 3 make it to Worlds, assuming someone doesn't win Worlds and the region doesn't get an extra slot. There's no more Gauntlet qualifier, so as a result, when you fail to make top 4 in the summer playoffs, or at any point in summer, your season's over 100%. It's done already. You set out the rest of your contract, you watch Worlds like the rest of us, and then you wait for the off-season and you do your deals. Assuming you don't get poached. Now, EU Masters is the division below that, in the sense that it highlights the best teams, the winners, the top placing ones from the ERLs, the European Regional Leagues. So you have the top players from this league. EU Masters is watched by a lot more people than watch some of the RLs in terms of like coaches, other players in LEC. This is where a lot of the players who are the stars will either directly play in LEC, sometimes the following split the following years, or they might be a sub in those teams, or they might get brought into an academy and ERL team of one of those organizations who then might promote them or test them out internally. So previously, LEC level players sometimes are still in there trying to prove their way to get back in. It happened to Leader, Kire did it, Steel back, you can go back to Freeze back in the day, you can go through all sorts of names. Then below that, we have the ERLs. Now, these massively vary in terms of the quality of the players, country to country to country, in terms of how good the top team is versus the middle of the team versus the worst team. And basically, at that point in time, we don't really care beyond that what's going on. Like that's basically the bottom, that's the top of the funnel, but it's the bottom of the European level as far as fans of top level LEC League of Legends are concerned. There is no direct connection, though, between the top two divisions, LEC and EU Masters, but there is between EU Masters and ERLs, because as I say, winners of ERLs qualify into the EU Masters. So unlike the days where you could go through the challenger scene in Europe and directly win a promotion match against an LEC, at the time EU LCS level team, and therefore force your way into LEC, you have to hope you impress and then get picked up. So Veteran often used to make the point, Jizuke could have been a player in EU LCS LEC long before he was, but because of his perceptions about his behaviour in solo queue as an individual player, he had to play with the Giants court and just force his way in by winning a promotion match. Now, my idea basically offers an even better way for talent in these divisions to show off how good they are by letting them directly play against some real LEC teams and players. This will basically be a direct contrast between the kinds of players you might want to replace and the kinds of players you might want to replace them, and essentially sort of philosophical bridge between EU Masters and the LEC. And if it isn't directly one, you can't entirely force your win, but it's a bigger platform to perform on. So where I took this from was the way the Korean scene used to be structured right through until it became LCK in 2015, and Riot, as usual, helped to fuck everything up and destroy everything great that someone else had built because they didn't understand it, because that's the way Riot operates. Riot are the guys who destroy the wheel and then make sort of a half-decent hexagonal wheel and go, it turns though, it's better than walking, isn't it? You go, yeah, but we used to have that. No, what are you talking about? No, I've just invented the wheel. Please, hope you'll be glad you can work in a game around this wheel that I've made. So NLB, not a lot of people won't know this, stood for Nice Game TV League of Legends Battle. Not a great name, so let's just call it NLB, right? It was the second division of competitive play in League of Legends in Korea from 2012 through 2014, because that was the period when it was the OGN Champions era in Korea. We had these tournaments, not league formats, and it wasn't even close to a franchised concept. They took the top 16, at least on the latter ones I checked, amateur and semi-pro teams through these massive qualifiers. Then they took all the OGN champions teams for each season who didn't make it to the semi-finals of that season. So the group stage teams who didn't make the playoffs, they joined in with where the top teams had qualified out of the amateur and semi-pro scene and played kind of a decider match for them before they got to the bracket. Then the teams who made the quarterfinals of OGN champions, some of the top teams of all time, by the way, teams like SK Telecom went into this at certain points in time. They would then be added basically at the first part of the bracket stage, the quarterfinals, and essentially when they joined, it became, like OGN champions, an 8-team single elimination bracket. The tournament was best of 3 in the first round, and then from the semis and the final, it was best of 5. So for example, I'll show you one in a second. SK Telecom K, the reigning world champions from season 3, 2013. In 2014, in the summer, they were playing in this division. In the spring, they were playing in this division. They actually won in the summer this entire tournament. They beat Shield, who were the finalists from spring in OGN champions, in the NLB final. You also had CJ Enters Players, also known as Neo Blaze. They famously had to play KT Rolster in the winter OGN champions, 2 of the top 3 or 4 teams. In the quarterfinals, they lost, therefore they went down to NLB. They went on to prove that they were still like a top 4 team in the region because they just won this outright. They beat Samsung Blue, who had Pawn, before the Dade swap, and they beat Najim Blacksword. So I'll quickly show you basically the structure of how that worked. So here we go. This is at the point at which we've already had loads of the amateur teams get filtered out, and here's amateur and semi-pro teams. In fact, you can even see then DFM, that appears to actually be the Japanese team, are able to play this. So we look at the squads here. In round 1, most of those are teams you're not going to know. But if you look in round 2, you already are seeing, look at the bottom there, CJ Enters Frost. Look on the right, KT Bullets. Look on the right, CJ Blaze. You're looking on the right, Zenix Storm in the top right-hand corner. We're having real teams play against these semi-pro teams, and we're getting to see what they're made of, right? There's going to be some eyes on that. Then we go to the bracket after this. This is from the winter season for 2014, which means it starts like winter does in 2013 and goes through to 2014. Oh no, actually, I think this was the summer one for 2014. Apologies on that one. And then we came to this, right? So like I said, SK Telecom won it. So in the first round, we had Najim White. These are basically all teams that play in OGN, right? But the point is, there could have been other teams, and they occasionally, you would get a team that would do a fluke run or had a couple of up-and-comers that would be able to prove themselves here. And you also, this is a key thing Monty used to point out, what used to make this great was, since it was a single-limb bracket in OGN Champions, if you did get a bracket like the aforementioned Blaze one, where you have 3 of the top 4 teams in the region on one side of the bracket, you don't really know who's 2nd, 3rd and 4th. Like MVP Ozone wasn't really the second best team, but they made the finals. Najin's Shield at the time in that winter season wasn't like a top 4 team, but they made it to the semis. So instead, what you did is this tournament, by reordering the bracket and having them all play off separately, it allowed teams to show who actually is that good in this kind of a scenario. Who actually are the 3rd, 4th, 5th, well, in this case, it'd be like 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th. Who really are the teams and where would they place it? Or give you another chance to sort of see who was actually good overall. One of the things about this that I really appreciate is, imagine we did this for LEC. So I'll take this split, the spring split of season 11, so 2021. Now let's imagine I'm going to have to hypothetically tell you who the teams that don't make it are, because the split hasn't even close to finish. So I'll just do this, and I'll be fairly reasonable based on current records as to who might or might not make it. So let's say, for argument's sake, the 4 teams that don't make this split's playoffs are SK, they obviously got a very hard chance to, Astralis, because they're not a very good lineup, XL, just because maybe they're a bit flawed and they've lost some games even that they could have won, and Schalke, because they lost some of the talent and they're going to basically be selling at some point soon anyway. Let's say those 4 teams drop down and they enter a tournament featuring the top 8 teams from EU Masters, the playoffs of EU Masters. Then you add in maybe a little bit next round in, whatever format you're using here, you add in the bottom 2 playoff teams as soon as they're eliminated. So let's say in this season that ends up being Fnatic and Vitality, and then they come into the tournament. That means for all these teams, after elimination in the summer season, or the spring for that matter, there's still something to play for. You can test your roster one final time, see if it actually was legit, or it was just that one playoff series, that one opponent, you got the Kryptonite. You can test out new talents. Maybe you got a sub that you've been trying to work in during the season. You want to actually give him a proper run. Maybe you want to see how good the EU Masters players are by actually playing against them in an official game, not just seeing them in EU Masters, not just seeing them in scrims, etc. It's also another quality tournament, by the way, this time between the LEC and EU Masters level, which you can watch. You can have a lot of enjoyment watching it. You could also imagine people showing off their skills and getting acquired earlier, right? Imagine NukeDoc winning his way back in through something like this, or this is how Leader forces his way into your attention, or this is where Vethio would make people realise, what, he's beating LEC teams before he was even in LEC, or maybe this Adam guy for Fnatic gets to show off his skills. If they dominated these tournaments in past years, don't you think they would have had a lot more hype? They could have been picked up much earlier. We could have seen more of what they're made of. Or imagine years before that, Humanoid, Larson, Kazi, Kaiser, Inspired, Corp, you know the list of people, Shadow, all these names that we could have found out about years and years earlier, El Yoya. This could accelerate scouting speed and talent acquisition. So to me, it's actually a no-brainer to set up a tournament like this. These teams are free. They're available, especially in the summer season. In fact, during MSI as well. It'd be something else to keep you playing for. And fans would watch it. If people like ERLs and they like ERLs, they're going to love this tournament. And what a banger it would be, right? Oi! This video was kindly supported by Eddie, Kris with a K, Lager15, Pronogo, Shenlong, Zachary Carter, Zack Schmidt, Adam Ochs, Alexander Rao, Animosity, Dean Tanglis, Doomseer, ErikHillestad, Hades, Jdubs, Jensen Goh, John Shelton, Joseph Ginsburg, Kovacevicd, Tobias Bernasconi, Zoomba, and Zyrathenia, and as always, special thanks go out to my main man, Jerky's Minion. Want to suggest a topic or a guest? Do you want to ask a question in one of those AMAs? Do you want teasers? See who the guests are? Maybe you want to take part and chat with me in one of those esports discussions. Well, for all of the above, put your money where your mouth is, join the Patreon link in the description box below, and become a part of the Skrilluminati.